Alright, so continuing with our financial mathematics playlist, what we're gonna talk about in this video is the concept of commission. So we already talked about wages and salaries, and those are basically just the most common types of income a person can have. But there is another type of income that is called a commission, which is essentially, say you're selling some kind of product like a house. And basically what you're doing is you're working for a bank. So if you're a real estate agent, what you're doing is you're going to houses that are being sold by some owner or some customer, and then you're just bringing people in to see the house, and then you're trying to convince them, oh, okay, this is a really nice house, this is why I think you should buy it. And then you try to convince them to buy the house, and then if they do, then part of what was paid for the entire house, so if the house is worth something like $500,000, then the real estate agent is going to get a commission, which is just a proportion of that. So another way to think about it is, if you consider the entire price of the house as a cake, then the commission is just going to be a small piece of it. Now, to give you an idea of how much commission can be made on something like this, generally commission is less than 10%, so it really depends on the kind of product you're selling. But even for something like this, if you manage to sell one house and say your commission is 5%, then that's basically going to be a total of $25,000. So that's pretty good, because that's only one house. If you work as a real estate agent, you could actually be selling several houses in a matter of months. So it really just depends on how good you are and how much experience you have in the field. But obviously, it's always going to be lower than that. So don't expect to earn this much in just a single month. So in order to calculate commission, what we can actually do here is we calculate the percentage. So commission is usually just a percentage or a proportion of that entire price times the total sales. So if you're selling more than one product, once again, then you just multiply it by the total amount of money that was earned during those sales. And the commission is basically going to be kind of like your salary or your wage. So it might seem like a very good deal, but it's very tricky, because you're not getting paid for all the hours that you're working. You could be working something like 50 hours a week. That's not going to guarantee that you're going to get paid anything. I mean, it all depends on whether you can actually sell the products at a reasonable pace. So there's always a trade-off with these things. So to give you an example, suppose that there's a saleswoman who is paid a retainer of $1,500 per month. And suppose that, well, in this case, a retainer is essentially just like a salary. So the company she's working for is paying her a salary of, or a wage of, $1,500 per month. And that's just to cover basic expenses like transportation for getting from one place to another to sell the products, and things like maybe food, some accommodation, but that's about it. This is not really her actual salary. Her salary is going to come from the commission. So the more she manages to sell in a month, the more she's going to earn. So suppose she is receiving 1.25% in commission, and this would be a more realistic number. So in general, for commission of any kind of product, you should be expecting around 1% of that total sales value. And we're told that she is selling $5,600 worth of goods in just that 1 month. So we want to find out what is the total earnings she's going to get for that month. Well, first of all, we need to find out what is 1.25% of this. So we need to convert this to a decimal. So 1.25% divided by 100%. Percentages cancel out, and we're going to move this to decimal places to the left. And let me see if I did this correctly. 1, 2. Yep. That's going to be this quantity in decimal form. And now we're going to multiply this by $5,600. So 0.00125 times 5,600. And let's see what that gives us. So that's going to be, actually I believe I made a mistake here. Yeah, silly me. I just included an extra decimal place. So let me just fix that very quickly. Actually, let me just erase this whole thing. So this is the problem of getting old. At some point you just get very used to just using a calculator, so then you make silly mistakes like this one. So 1.25 divided by 100 is going to be 0.0125. Okay, so now we're going to multiply this by the total amount of money that was sold, or the total sales value. So 0.0125 times 5,600, that's going to be $70. And that's basically going to be it for the whole month. So you can see that obviously working on a commission like this is not going to be a very good deal. So you can already assume that this is not going to be a very good kind of job to have. This is probably something extra, like a hobby or something that she has on the side to earn some extra money. But this is basically what the earnings are going to be in terms of the commission in that 1 month. So that's going to be per month. Okay, but that's not all. She's also getting paid this fixed amount per month, which is called the retainer. So the total amount she's getting paid per month is going to be $1,500 plus 70. And this is going to come down to $1,570 in that 1 month. So you can see that she's getting paid a lot more as a retainer than she's actually earning through commission. So obviously it's probably a small product, and then maybe this is not like a permanent or a full-time kind of job, but obviously it's not going to be that much considering that she's selling this much in goods and she's only getting 70% out of that. So obviously when you're working on a commission, you want to really go for something that is kind of like a big sale. So something like a house will definitely get you a good deal of money if you manage to sell at least one house every few months. But if you're doing something like this, it's not going to be that much. But at least this gives you an idea of the different types of income that people have and the different types of jobs that you can actually find. And obviously every job is going to be different, but in general they would fall into these 3 categories in terms of how you get paid.